welcome back to my channel. I am excited to share with you my Project Life journal. I like to call this my Project Life journal because I stopped working in pockets to document my week to week or month to month or year to year, whatever it is. I just decided that I don't want pockets anymore. And I wanted to change it up, even though I was doing the Project Life in pockets and albums for so many years. I think it's time for a change. So in 2024, I switched to a Hemlock and Oak, and I was using their smaller version or their classic version, let's say, almost an A5. This year, I went bigger and I grabbed one of their newer sizes, the B5. And you guys, I'm loving it. I have to share with you how my spreads turned out, and I will be putting together a layout with you as well today. But before we jump in, I wanted to apologize for my inky hands. I was playing with fountain pens and inks. I just got in a new color and I wanted to try it out. So I get pretty inky, which is something that really bothers me. I hate ink on my hands, but in the end, if you're gonna use some fountain pens, you're gonna get inky. So I forgot to say that this is a minimalist B5. I decided to go with that because I didn't want those extra pages. Like I don't do any goal setting or anything like that. So the nice thing about that is you just have your basic up front, the calendars and all that good stuff, and you jump right into the month. And so for my calendar, I have not decided what I'm going to do here. I did add my measurements, but I'm not sure if I want to add photos like I do in my planner or just keep it as is and not worry about it. I don't know. We shall see, but I'm leaving it right now. And once I decide, I can always fill it out. So for week one, as you can see, I did a few changes for this project. I decided to print my journaling. I used to write it myself, and I love writing out my journaling because it's a less step. When you print it, you have to get on your phone or your laptop, fill in the journaling, add the journaling, print it, all that good stuff. When you write it down, you just jump right in and start writing. The reason why I decided to print it was because I have stories that are pretty big and my handwriting is pretty big. And when I start writing in these smaller spaces, I can't write all the details. It just doesn't fit. I've tried to shrink my handwriting, I just cannot. So I thought, let me try to just print my journaling. And it really worked out. I was able to add details and you can shrink your journaling. Like here, I shrunk it down to fit. So you can really play with this. And so I might stick to it. I'm not sure. It just depends. I will keep to the new changes for at least a month and then decide if it's something I want to keep doing or not. That's my motto. Like try something a few times, and if it doesn't work, kind of move on. And so that was one of the changes, just switching to printed journaling. I also went with black, a lot of black. So you can see I usually stamp the week number and then I stamp the numbers and the days of the week. And I always used to use like big, bold numbers. I used a lot of different colors on my spread, but I wanted to give it a try. I love black ink. I love clean spreads. And so I thought to myself, I'm just going to go black. That way, if I want to add color, I'm not restricted with the ink color that I use to stamp out my week number and all that good stuff. If I keep it black, I can bring in embellishments in different colors and kind of build off of the black ink. And it just makes the process easier. And I really, really like how it turned out. I even decided to go smaller with my numbers. I do love my large numbers that I was using in 2024, but I like that I have more space to add embellishments when I went smaller with my numbers. I also love the blocked days of the week. I have loads of these types of stamps. I rarely use them. And so this is a great place for me to start. And so that is the changes I did. I changed the journaling. I changed the dates and the days and also the colors that I'm going to be using. So like I said, I will keep doing this. I'm keeping with the black ink, I'm keeping with the journaling. I'm going to use the same stamps for week 2 that we're going to put together. And then I can decide if halfway through the year, if I decide, no, I want to bring back color again, I can totally do that. But if you've been around here for a while, you know that this is my jam and I just love black ink. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to start with week 2. I think I'm going to put you on voiceover. I'm not sure yet. Just depends on my time and stuff. It's just easier and faster for me to put you on voiceover. But we're going to start on week 2 and I'll share with you all the things that I'm going to be doing. I also forgot to mention that I did use a lot of my digital collections. So I'm trying really hard this year to keep it as flat as possible. Even though last year I didn't put a lot of textured and dimensional things in there, but I really want to focus on using my printables as well. And obviously my stash, but printables first, and then filling in the gaps with my stash. Anyways, let's get to it. I'm really excited. All right, let's start working in my Project Life journal, and we're going to work on week 2 of 2025. So I'm just going to grab my alpha stamps to stamp out week. I believe this alpha is from Coco Daisy, if I'm not mistaken. Anything I can still find online, I will link in the description box for you. But I'm basically going to ink it up with black ink. Like I said earlier, I've been digging the black ink lately. And then I'm going to grab an old Studio Calico stamp set to stamp out my numbers. I tried to match the font as much as possible. I wanted some clean alphas and clean, simple numbers to stamp out my weeks throughout this year. So I think these two work really well together. Now that I'm done stamping out my week and number, I can bring in my photos. So I do print my photos on matte vinyl sticker paper. Sometimes I choose to go with glossy, but this week I went with matte. And I do print them at different sizes. Well, I have 2 different sizes for this journal. I think it's the taller ones or the vertical ones are usually around 1.45 by 2 and 2.5. And then the horizontal ones are usually around 3 by 2. It just really depends. I try to stick to those 2 sizes just so everything can flow nicely. Now for the first day, which is Monday, I used my Planet stamp set to stamp out the number and then used one of my Carrie Bradford block days of the week stamp to stamp Monday right underneath it. I added my photo. And I wanted to share here that I printed some of my digital stamps and elements using Canva, and I printed it on clear sticker paper. I wanted a Lego set because for Monday, I was documenting Leith putting together the Mona Lisa, and it just looked so good. And I really wanted to kind of focus that it was a Lego set. So I added that little Lego sticker, and I also added my journaling at the bottom. For each day, I try to remember to add the date and the day, and then kind of add little tidbits, either stamping or stickers with my photo. So as you can see for Tuesday, I'm documenting the dogs. So I stamped "Can't Say No to This Face" because I was giving them a dog donut. And I also stamped a paw right above that, just added kind of a little title, added my journaling. And now I'm going through my stash. I was hoping to find a tag just to fill in that space on the bottom. While I was going through my little drawer, I found a pink card that I felt went well with my like Wednesday photo. So I put it aside, but I don't end up using it, even though it's really cute. Felt like it was too wide and I didn't want to put it vertically. It just looked odd. So I end up not using it, but it's such a good card. I wish I was able to use it somehow. Anyways, actually found a blank tag which was perfect for stamping. I thought it would be fun to go through my stamps and just stamp a little something on the tag and be able to fill in that space. I love the saying that says, "Life is good." Life is definitely good for my dogs. So I went with it. I'm going to stamp it with black ink and basically add it in that column. And you'll see that I forgot to add my number and my day. And I'll notice it once I'm done working on the next column, but I'll go back in and fix that. Anyways, for now, I'm going to start working on Wednesday and I'm documenting Laith getting a haircut and removing his beard, but he left his mustache and I found it to be hilarious and he looked exactly like Freddie Mercury. So I decided to stamp out Freddie Mercury as my title for Wednesday and I went with this really pretty orangey yellow. I just love this color. I think it is from Close to My Heart. And so I also used some of my Carrie Bradford stamps to fill in that space. And you'll see that I have two of the same font, but in two different sizes. And I use them both to be able to fit in that big title. This is where I noticed that I forgot to add my date and number. And so I go back in there, I trim down that tag. Thank God I was able to just remove that bottom half and basically stamp number 7 and Tuesday right underneath it. This happens to me a lot. I sometimes forget to add the number and the day, and sometimes I'll have space and fix it. And sometimes I don't, and it really doesn't bother me, but I'd rather have it than not. I hope that makes sense. So I made sure to just fit it in there whichever way I could. While I was stamping out the date and day for Tuesday, I went ahead and stamped the date and day for Wednesday. But as you can see here, when I added my journaling underneath my photo, it didn't look right. It was just too close, it didn't fit properly. So I end up covering up the day and date just because I thought maybe if I am able to stamp it again underneath my photo, I can bring them in closer. And that way the journaling wouldn't look off on the bottom. So it actually worked really well. I'm so happy that I decided to cover up my first attempt at stamping the date and day and I was able to fit my photo, my journaling, and all that good stuff on the bottom. Anyways, moving on to Thursday. Again, I'm going to start by stamping the date and day. I will also use that sheet where I printed some of my digital elements to add a little card right underneath it. So the card that I'm going to use was actually a 3x4 card from Studio Calico, but the beauty about using Canva is that you can resize it to whatever you want. And so I was able to shrink it down to fit my columns. And I love the colors on this card. I feel like it brings in all the colors from my layout. I end up adding that. And I also want to stamp a little something in between my journaling and the card. So I just grab this like little tea kettle with two teacups. I was documenting Sabine sending me a photo of her all bundled up. It was a very, very cold week. I was really worried about her. I was constantly texting her and calling her, making sure that she's dressed properly when she walks to classes and things like that. So it was kind of cute when she sent me this photo of herself all bundled up. I'm just going to color in my stamping and then we can move on to Friday and Saturday. So for Friday and Saturday, we had snow days. I was shocked that we had snow days so early on through the year, especially here in Georgia. That never happens. It's very, very rare. So I had a few photos from that day, and I wanted to cover both days with those photos because the snow days basically were Friday and Saturday. So I ended up creating a horizontal photo to cover those 2 days. And it basically tells the story of Friday and Saturday. I ended up stamping Let's Stay In, and I just stamped it right next to one of my photos. And I went ahead and stuck a few of those photos down. Looking at my layout, it had a lot of hard edges, which is normal when you're working in a journal like this and sticking to columns. but I wanted to break them down a little bit. So I end up using the little circle that I printed through Canva. Just said time to get cozy. I think this is one of the elements that I purchased from In a Creative Bubble. And I love the colors. It really helped that side of the spread pop. So I end up adding it kind of half on my photo, the other half on my paper. I'll go back to my planet stamp set to stamp the date and day right above the next vertical photo. And right next to that photo, I'm going to use that space to add my journaling for the 2 days. I'm almost done with Friday and Saturday. I'm just going to finish off the 2 days by stamping 11 and Saturday right underneath my journaling and basically call those 2 days done and move on to Sunday, where I spent the day at home baking. When it's cold outside, you definitely stay home. I do. And I decided that I had some time on my hands and I wanted to bake, even though this is definitely Sabine's job where she does all the baking. Because Sabine was stuck at school for the whole weekend, I decided to make some chocolate chip cookies. So I started my Sunday column with journaling, with my date and day. I stick down my photo, and the bottom half I'm going to use to add a large title. I grab my Tori Alpha stamps to stamp bake, and I'm going to fill that space perfectly with that stamp set. I will also color in bake as well. But before I start coloring anything in, I'm going to use one of my favorite chocolate chip cookie stamp from Kelly Perky. It is my go-to stamp when documenting baking and making chocolate chips or eating chocolate chip cookies. And so I'm going to stamp that little cookie right next to my bake title. I'm going to grab my markers and color it in. And once I'm done coloring that in, it's just going to make that title pop. And I love how it turned out. Now I'm almost done. I'm just going to grab some washi tape and fill in that bottom gap between Thursday and Saturday. So I just go with a very plain, basic grid washi for that and call my layouts done. Before I wrap this up, I wanted to mention that if you stick to your column and work day by day, this project or these layouts should come together very quickly and easily. We say break down your project, make it simple and easy for yourself to put together. Don't work on the whole page all at once. It will definitely overwhelm you. Anyways, you guys, I'm going to wrap this up. I will add all the links for everything I shared down in the description box for you. Hope you enjoyed watching this video, and if you did, please give me a thumbs up. And if you are new to my channel, please consider subscribing. And I hope to see you guys very soon. Bye.